everyone, my name is T. I'm on the Vancouver Startup Week team. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are grateful to be virtually gathered on Indigenous land, regardless of where you're joining us from. I'm grateful to be on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish peoples. I'm privileged to live, work, and play on these lands. First, I'd like to thank you for joining us for VSW 2021 and welcome to Buy and Sell with Impact, Explore Social Enterprise with Eastside Roasters. This session is part of the VSW Founder Track and is proudly supported by Sage Accounting. Sage knows you didn't start your business to become an accountant. Sorry to any accountants out there. Sage Accounting keeps your business organized and running smoothly, track your cash flows, send out invoices, and get paid quickly. So visit the Sage Accounting booth to get free access, free guides and templates for starting your business finances the right way. Plus, get an exclusive VSW discount if you're ready to switch from Excel. This session is also part of the VSW Experience Package, which we are excited to have for the first time this year. For those that have a box, please feel free to join us on the interactive portion of this session and share your experience with us on social media by tagging us at Van Startup Week. So during the session, if you have any questions for our speakers, please post them in the Q&A section of the Whova session, and you can also upvote some questions. But for now, I'll pass the mic over to Tori, and we'll begin.
Thank you so much, T. And thanks so much, everyone who's joining us here today. I wish I could see your faces, but I hope you're having a great morning. My name is Tori Williamson, and I'm the Director of Education and Communications at Bisocial Canada. Before I kick off, I'd like to introduce quickly my other presenters today. So first off is Shelley.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hope you had a nice long weekend. My name is Shelley Bolton, and I am the Executive Director at Eastside Roasters, and I'm excited to share some stories about what we do.
Great. And Brad.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Mills. I have my own business called PM Brands. I'm excited to share my story.
Great. So welcome to Buy and Sell with Impact. We're going to be exploring social enterprise with Eastside Roasters at Vancouver Startup Week. Our agenda today is to discuss what exactly Buy and Sell with Impact means, and then we'll be exploring how do you create community with social enterprise, and then we'll finish off with rich impact that Eastside Roasters creates through their chocolate, through their coffee, and through their community. So when we think about the social and environmental problems that our communities face, traditionally, it's through charities and social work that these types of organizations work to try to help those who are facing difficulties. But these don't necessarily address the systemic economic issues of income inequality, social inclusion, and environmental degradation. Is it possible to rely on business, traditional business, to solve social and economic and environmental challenges? You know, that we can look to businesses, but they might perhaps be motivated by one thing only. Milton Friedman classically said, there is one and only one social responsibility of business, to use its resource and engage in activities designed to increase its profits for shareholders. Fortunately, this is being challenged, and we're seeing more and more purpose being brought into the business space. And we can't expect government's rules, regulations, and programs to solve all of society's problems. Big government and history shows that government alone can't fix all of the social issues or economic problems. So we are in a challenging situation where, you know, the traditional charitable model, businesses being motivated by profits only, and government trying to solve all of these problems doesn't necessarily get us to a point where we have healthy, thriving communities. Social enterprise is part of the solution. So what is a social enterprise? A social enterprise is a business. It generates the majority of its revenues through the sales of goods or services. It has a defined social or cultural or environmental goal that is embedded in its operation. It is central to what it is trying to achieve and the way it does its business. And to further that, the majority of their profits are reinvested into that social objective, with no or less than 50% of distribution to shareholders or owners. You may or may not have heard of this definition of social enterprise before, but this definition is aligned internationally with organizations like Social Enterprise World Forum, Social Enterprise UK, Social Traders in Australia, and Akina in New Zealand. Social enterprise seeks a blended return on investment. So it's not a traditional charity which relies on grants and donations for funding and just solely focus on social value outcomes. It's not a traditional business that really is maximizing profit at the expense of perhaps all else, but it's really seeking a blended value. It's operating in the middle and trying to, balance between people, planet, and profit and bring those together to create community capital. So to explore those different types of business models a little bit further, you can see here this business model continuum. So on the left, we've got charitable donations and grants, which could be revenue streams for registered charities. And you could have a nonprofit, the incorporation style, so the nonprofit ownership, but also running a business. So these are kind of different options there. On the right, we have for-profit or private ownership. And these corporations could kind of be on a spectrum. They could be strictly profit-seeking, maybe with a little bit of social, maybe not. Maybe they're trying to do some corporate social responsibility. And then they could be a social purpose business, a business who is completely privately owned, doesn't have that profit reinvestment requirement, but they're still trying to do good and they're a social purpose business. And then you can see in the middle, the hybrid business model, which is a unique business model. They don't have them all over the place, but fortunately here in BC, we do have a community contribution company as a specific way you can become incorporated. So within those 3 pink highlighted squares, those are all social ventures, a couple of them social enterprises. So the nonprofit or the hybrid meet that definition that Biosocial Canada uses for a social enterprise and is internationally recognized. And they're all seeking that blended value, they're kind of looking at that place in the middle. So what does that look like? Blended value is maximizing the total value of our companies, communities, and capital. Social enterprise could be any type of business. So there could be things like recycling, healthcare, translation services, maintenance, recreation, arts, retail, manufacturing. The local farmers market is a social enterprise. Thrift stores that are operated by nonprofits are social enterprises. You could have catering. We're going to explore one that Brad has been really involved with in Vancouver's downtown Eastside. So any type of business can operate as a social enterprise. And social enterprises can in turn address a wide array of community issues. So they could be seeking to empower youth. They could be providing opportunities for cultural in the community, like an arts council or a community theater. They could be providing education or training, be it in employment or skills to help people grow, food security, helping to support animals, helping with succession. We're seeing across the country, small business owners are kind of going into retirement. Perhaps a nonprofit could buy that small business and take it on, and then it becomes a social enterprise. They could be supporting people with disabilities. They could be working with seniors and helping with social inclusion. They could be doing healthcare for people or helping with community economic development. A wide array of things that social enterprises can help support in community. So what does this look like? This looks like social enterprises create not just economic capital, but they create a much more holistic view of community capital. And community capital is really the foundation of a healthy community, because not only do communities need that economic capital from income and finances in order to, support their economy, but they also require physical capital. It needs to be natural and manufactured, and that's the built environment and the environment around them. They need cultural capital, so opportunities for diversity and respect, arts and inclusion. They need human capital, opportunities for people to advance their skills and learn and training and progress themselves as they contribute to their community. And then, of course, social capital. This is really the glue that holds our communities together through families, institutions, and networks. Building community capital is the means for creating healthy communities. When you create community capital, you can potentially create community benefits based on the needs of a local community. So let's explore what each of these could look like. What does human capital look like? Human capital could be Clean Start. BC in Vancouver has opportunity for people to learn skills in junk removal and provide employment, supportive employment for people in barriers. Cleaning Solutions employs people who have mental health issues and provides structures their cleaning company so that they don't have to drive between their sites. They leave all of their cleaning equipment at each office location, and then people are able to take transit in between their job sites. They could be supporting economic capital, so the community economic activities and a nonprofit income. Thrift stores are a great example of this, which we see all over the place, where a nonprofit uses the sales of old goods in order to support their services. The farmers market is a way for farmers to access a market of consumers to then gain that economic capital from their goods. Cultural capital is about preserving, enhancing, and sharing local culture and the arts. So some examples include the Higher Education Society in Haida Gwaii and Rising Tide Theatre in Newfoundland. Physical capital is about the housing environment and energy. So Atira Housing is a property management company in Vancouver, and they operate a wide variety of locations and create the physical capital in the community. And social capital, so social inclusion and relationships. Prince George Aboriginal Friendship Center, there's a Vancouver Aboriginal Friendship Center. Across the country, you see Aboriginal Friendship Centers bringing communities together and creating a place for community. If you're looking for a social enterprise, you can look for the Buy Social Canada certified badge. We just did a new brand, so we're really excited for the new badge, but this certifies that a social enterprise meets that definition that I spoke of earlier. So really showing that not only are they focused on doing good, but they're reinvesting the majority of their net profits back into that service. And if you did get one of the goodie bags with a delicious bag of Eastside Roasters chocolate, we're just getting started and putting stickers on all of those so people will know that it's a certified social enterprise. And let's remember that social enterprise is not just a thing. Social enterprise is a tool. It's a means to use business to create social impact. So if you want to use social enterprise to create social impact, and you're not actually a social enterprise yourself, how can you engage in supporting them? We're going to talk about social procurement. So social procurement is recognize the potential impact of your purchasing. Traditional procurement in the buying and selling of goods and services is not new. For thousands of years, communities have exchanged local goods and services to enhance their livelihoods and create well-being. Over the last several hundred years, though, we have shifted towards an ideology that tells us the invisible hand of the free market will unintentionally advance the interests of society. As such, purchasers have focused their efforts on maximizing the quality of their purchases while minimizing price. So it's that first circle, price and quality are their focus when you're purchasing, and revenues while minimizing production costs. Now, in the 60s, we saw people recognizing that there was environmental impacts from lowest price considerations, and started to think about how can I think about my purchases and what the impacts are on the environment from those choices. And that's when green considerations started coming into the picture. And now in the 2000s, we're recognizing that maybe there's other types of value we can get from our purchasing, and we can take into consideration the social value of our purchases in order to try and create more of that community capital. So when we include a social value component in our supplier selection criteria, so when we're buying goods, and for example, from a social enterprise, then the same market transaction creates an additional value for the local community. Specifically, it creates value for three parties: the buyer, the seller, and the community. So what this means is that not only are you getting your goods and services, so you get the value of the goods or services as a purchaser, the supplier gets their economic value from that trade. But now if you've gotten community capital or human capital, any types of those extra capitals are then contributing to that community capital and the community value in your community. How many times? Lots of community, but lots of community value when you practice social procurement. What does this look like? If we try to think of this about some examples of quantifying this information, you can think about community and social economic development. So here is an example of a study that Ernst & Young did with Atira Property Management that I mentioned. So they looked at what was the social return on investment from money being spent with Atira Property Management. And that social return on investment meant savings in healthcare, savings in people not having to go in an ambulance or being kind of having to interact with the police system. So for every dollar spent with a target group, the SROI was $4.13. So we start to look at things more holistically. You know, you might cost the same, to get your property management services from a TIRA versus from a for-profit organization, but you're getting all these other social returns by choosing to work with a social enterprise. And when you think about, okay, maybe there isn't a social enterprise nearby, maybe just a local business, there's a lot of potential to create social value through working with a local business versus a multinational corporation. We can see here that Local BC has studied the economic multiplier effect, and they found that for every $100 spent with a local office supply business, $63 was reinvested locally, and that's through things like procurement, wages, their philanthropy, what their practices were in the community. So that money was much more likely to stay in the community than if you bought it from a big box store, maybe a very convenient online retailer, and only $14 was reinvested locally. Actually, this is I think an in-person. I don't even know what that convenient online retailer might not even get to that $14. But it really shows you, if you're thinking about trying to support your community, how trying to keep that capital, here it's really the economic capital within the community, has these multiplier effects when you choose to buy from a local business. So I've talked a lot about social procurement. What does that mean? How does Buy Social Canada relate to that? So we're social procurement leaders. We work to support government, we work to support institutions, we work to support corporations, and we certify social enterprises. And we provide a wide range of supports as these leaders for the country, as a leading intermediary in the form of social purchasing partnerships. So working with a business to do a supply chain audit, train your employees on the potential of your purchasing to create impact in your community. We have a directory on our website of all of the social enterprises across Canada that are certified. You can sort by location and by service, so a really convenient tool. We do training courses, so looking at, okay, social procurement seems like a great idea. We're spending this money anyways. How do we actually do that? So we'll work with any teams to provide education on how to put that into practice. We offer consulting services, so we work with all sorts of governments on specific projects. In Vancouver, we're working with the City of Vancouver on their community benefit agreement. So any redevelopment over 485,000 square feet, it's like the new St. Paul's Hospital, requires a community benefit agreement. So looking at social procurement for over the entire lifespan of the big building. So that's really exciting to be working on that and supporting them. We do engagement opportunities across the virtual space these days. But if you're interested in kind of trying to connect with us more, we have lots of information on ways to do that on our website. And we also provide an open source suite of learning resources. So if you want to learn more, it's at your fingertips. I have here a couple of our free open source guides that you can check out. So a guide to social procurement is your introduction, your 101. It talks about a bunch of the things I've touched on here, how to support social enterprises and how to incorporate them in your business, in your supply chain. We have the supplier guide to social procurement. So maybe you are a social value business or a social enterprise and you want to sell to businesses and governments and corporations, then you can access this supplier guide to learn more about the exciting and glamorous world of procurement and RFPs and RFEOIs. But there's so much potential there because these are big contracts and there's a lot of business to be gained. And then because, I mentioned community benefit agreements, there's so much social procurement happening in the construction sector because these big projects with lots of opportunity for employment and training and skills and supply chain. So we have a whole guide that's just focused on the construction sector. So lots of resources at your fingertips. My email, I think, is also on my profile. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm always happy to have a chat with anybody. So now I'd like to introduce Brad Mills. So Brad has been involved in business in Vancouver for a really long time. He used to be CEO of Mills Office Productivity. He's been a co-founder of HAVE Culinary Training Society, and now he's helping to support Eastside Roasters. So I'm really excited to introduce Brad. Welcome.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Okay, can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Thumbs up. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to just go off the cuff and tell you my story and how I was involved in social enterprise and how I got involved in social enterprise and where we are today. Not a good story, but it was a long story. No, it's going to be a short story. I was fortunate enough, I was a dyslexic kid. And so when I finished grade 12, I had the opportunity to join my father in the family business Mills Office Productivity. That must be over 45 years ago. And so through that, I worked with my father from the floor to the truck driver to delivery to sales to finally the CEO of the company. At that time, about the time the Olympics were coming out, we were picked to supply the Olympics office supplies. And the reason we were done that was we were a social responsible company back in those days. And what that meant is we gave back to the downtown east side and we gave back to the community. Also at the same time, a program called Fast Track for Employment was created by the government. And that idea was to basically help the people in the downtown east side get off out of the downtown east side and start to create work. So we were fortunate enough to be the first founder of that, and we created jobs for people in our warehouse. And we did that for at least 5 years. And every time we hired somebody, we always went to the downtown east side to hire first. And what I found out after a couple of years is that once we started hiring people, they became part of the family and the family stuck together. So my whole goal was to hire people through our warehouse, then get them through jobs through construction and that kind of stuff so they could move up and then move out of the downtown east side. But what we found out is once we hired the first person, we hired the second person, we created a family of people. And so my goal was to be able to move them out. Didn't really work. So when I was walking my dog one day with my good friend Ian Tossison, we decided that we tried to expand that and see if we could start our own first, at that time it was the first social enterprise. I think it was one of the first social enterprise and not-for-profit. And so we created a social enterprise not-for-profit called HAVE. Now HAVE was an interesting thing. It was downtown on Powell Street, and it was owned by a gentleman, and he was running as a training facility for chefs. So he'd take people from the downtown east side, and he'd take them and train them for a year to become chefs. Well, at the time, Ian was the president and still is the president of the BC Food and Restaurant Association. So at the time, there was really no desire to have chefs, but there was a lot of desire to have line cooks and dishwashers. So we took over this company. We were pretty fortunate. We took it over with a handshake and a lock on the door, so we kept the bailiff out. And we started HAVE, and that was 15 years ago. And through HAVE, our goal was to train people. We took an 8-week course and trained them how to become either line cooks, dishwashers, or whatever job they found afterwards. We did that. We trained about 100 people a year, and our success rate was 75%. So, and we started branching out. We took people from the downtown east side. We then took people from the prison system. Then we took people with some disabilities and mental disabilities. And then we really turned it, we started figuring out that we could do 100 a year and 75 would get jobs. And unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have the money to track the people after they got jobs. So that was sort of one of our downfalls in that. But for 14 years, it's very successful. And due to COVID, unfortunately, we had to pivot, and like everybody else had to pivot. And we do not train right now, but we do about 2,000 meals a day for the shelters of the downtown east side. So I think it's been successful in the sense that it's pivot. We do want to get back to training and that kind of stuff. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Shelley, and she was one of the founders and the creators of Eastside Roasters. And through that process, in January, we had an opportunity to reach out to help Shelley in the next step of Eastside Roasters. And that's sort of where we are today. The Eastside Roasters, and Shelley's going to go through a lot more than I know about it. Eastside Roasters was a social enterprise run by the Portland Hotel Society, and Portland Hotel Society decided that they would venture off the social enterprises. So a group, again, Ian and I were fortunate enough, we had a group of venture capitalists that came and helped us support this. And so that's what we are doing today. So we are working with Shelley trying to move the East Van Roasters to the next level, or East Van Roasters 2.0, as I call it. And so that's my story of how I got involved in social enterprise. I'm a strong believer in it. I truly, I do truly tell people, and it's a tough explanation of what is a social enterprise. I think it's come a long way from the 14 years ago, 15 years ago we started HAVE, and it's great to see that we have a whole movement. So unfortunately, I didn't take up too much time, Shelley, so now you got to waste half an hour. But that's sort of my story, and so that's what I know. So I'm going to introduce Shelley, or are you there, Shelley?
Yeah, I'm here. Let's see. I don't know how to switch to it being from you to me, but I'm going to share my screen here. Can you all see that? Awesome. So a little bit about our story, of the story of East Van Roasters, which is now about 8 years old. We started, like Brad said, back in 2012. The PHS, one of the dreams of the directors was to have an employment space for the women living upstairs in an SRO that was treatment-based housing. And they wanted it to be very little barrier. So there's no taking a bus, no transit, nothing. You can just come downstairs and there's your job. You could work 4 hours a day if that's all you could do, or a couple hours a day. Very little barrier to get to work. And we've been operating here in the historic Rainier Hotel since, excuse me, 2012. So our goal was to have these opportunities for women to work here, vulnerable women, marginalized women, that maybe didn't have experience working in a cafe or a chocolate shop, but wanted to start doing something, get out of their rooms, start having some positive interaction with other folks in the community. And we wanted to support other local businesses. One of the businesses we've been using since the very beginning was Highs for Humanity, and then also to support the farmers. So we bring in cacao and we bring in coffee from along the equator around the world, and we work with really great organizations to do that. So this is us in the beginning. I'm going to play this little video. Can you hear that?
You know, a lot of times people think a nonprofit social enterprise means lower quality product. But in this case, we've done a lot of research and we've trained with some of the best bean to bar chocolate makers in the world. And we are actually making a product that's exceptional.
This place means to me a job, friendship. It's work, and they've given me this chance, and I'm very happy here.
All of the women that are working here are gaining so much knowledge, and they're able to share that with the community when they come in.
I was in a bad way. I wasn't in any condition to go look for employment, like not at all. I was a disaster. And then, like I said, then this came along and it's like, then it just like changed everything. Everything changed.
It blows my mind. Like what we're doing here is special because of the social enterprise aspect and because of, you know, having the peers here. But it's special on this whole other level because it's creating an entirely new model for the culinary industry.
To be in a place where we can offer the women from the community a really exciting and dignified and wonderful place to work, it means more than you can even say.
I don't know, is it going to play again? Okay, so yeah, that was 8 years ago. And really exciting times. And we were really interested in not only having impact in the downtown Eastside, but also with the farmers, the farmer families we were working with to create positive social and environmental change. One of the companies that we work with, West Coast Coffee Traders, they've been in business for a couple decades, working with the same farmers, working to improve infrastructure at origin and make it a better environment for people, migrant workers, and the farmer families are getting more money for the work that they're doing. It's really important to us to work with people that have the same values as us as a company. Philly just got certified as a certified B Corp, which is really exciting for them. And we have the same relationship with the importers of the cacao that we work with, and we do a little bit of direct trade. We're always looking for better packaging, for more environmentally friendly packaging for our products. They have to be able to keep freshness, of course. So this is a biotree bag, which is compostable minus the valve and the tie. But it's something that we look at as a company. We want to make sure that everything that we're using has as little impact on the environment as possible. Our chocolate that we make in-house has won some awards, and that's been pretty incredible that this little downtown Eastside social enterprise can compete with chocolate makers from around the world. They're international awards. Some of them have been held in London. So that has made our team feel really proud of the work that they've done. And I'm going to share a little bit about how you actually make chocolate. This is a pod with some cacao beans in it. Our chocolate is just cacao beans and cane sugar. And this next little video we're going to see is us making chocolate for the Vancouver Christmas market. And we were doing a drinking chocolate for them. We wanted to have a video that people could watch while they're waiting in line because the lines are huge there. And we wanted something that would calm people down and, I don't know, get them excited to have this drinking chocolate. We were also the ones doing the boozy drinking chocolate, so we had very long lines. And there's no sound on this because I'm going to tell you what's happening. So this is cacao. These are cacao pods, and these are dried cacao beans inside of them. The cacao comes to us in these burlap sacks. I don't know if the video is playing smoothly or not. Hopefully it's okay. So when we receive the cacao, we sort through it because there could be some imperfections. It's a natural agricultural product. It has some sticks in there, could have some flat beans, could have doubles that we have to take apart. And once they're all sorted, we move to our roaster. So this roaster that we have at East Van Roasters is a Loring Smart Roast. It's designed and built in California. We use it for our coffee and for our cacao. We roast each of our origins differently because they have a different profile, just like coffee does. You're going to try to find the best flavors that you can out of the beans. With cacao, we have Madagascar, Dominican Republic, Peru, Guatemala, Tanzania, Madagascar. So each bean has a little bit of a different fat content, a little bit of a different flavor profile, and we find the best one for that bean. We roast them, and then we take them and put them through our winnowing machine, which you see here. And in the top, it goes through a cracker. It breaks the bean into little pieces, and then it goes along and vibrates, and the shell comes to the top. And you can see the vacuum will start to pull the shell up into the vacuum bag, and the nibs will come and fall down into a bucket, which will then sort again. So this is a lot of labor for us, which is exactly why we chose bean bar chocolate. We'll sort it again and take out any more shells, and then we'll put them into our stone grinders, which have huge heavy wheels that grind on top of granite. We'll add organic cane sugar, and we'll add some more cocoa butter because we're making a couverture product that is good for making truffles. And we'll grind them in these grinders for 3 days, sometimes even 4 days, depending on the roast profile. And then when it's liquid and beautiful, shiny chocolate, we'll pour it into these hotel pans, and they'll age for a little while until it's hardened. We'll wrap them up, and then once we're ready to use it, we'll melt it down again and temper it, which means heating it and cooling it to get it so that it'll hold its shape. In this picture, we're making a ganache, and this was for the drinking chocolate for the Vancouver Christmas market. So our chocolatier here is mixing cream and chocolate to get a smooth emulsification. And then we mix that in with organic Avalon dairy. And we would use that to steam and heat up, and then to add booze or just have straight up single origin drinking chocolates. And in the cafe, you can actually, when we were pre-COVID, you could come and have one of our signature East Van Roasters salted chocolate chip cookies with your drinking chocolate, and we would serve those at the cafe in our beautiful locally made pottery drinking chocolate cups. And it was a really lovely environment. Hopefully one day we'll get back to that. But we also work with a local co-op called Shift, and they would come and pick up the crates of milk and drive it every day to the Vancouver Christmas market for us at Jack Pool Plaza. So what makes us unique with our product line is that because we source our coffee and our cacao, we can customize all of our products. We are able to do seasonal different inclusion products. We work with other small organizations like Gathering Place that brings in fair trade pineapple, those types of resources that we believe makes our coffee and chocolate very impactful. And we not only provide this space where people can work and be involved in our community, but also it's a good place for people to come and learn about social enterprise and see that we can have environments for people to work that have no judgment or discrimination. And so far, we've had 30 women in our program, and $250,000 in pure wages stay within the community. Like Tori was saying before, if you spend your money in a local business, then a lot of that money is recirculated within the community, and that's been a real benefit. The downtown Eastside specific impact, there's 6 to 12 women, normally pre-COVID. Right now we have 3 women actively working and 3 women that are still off because of COVID. Most people work between 4 and 20 hours per week, and it's based on their schedule. We're really flexible with that depending on what other things they have going on. And we average between 3,000 and 4,000 hours a year. This is that picture that Tori also had up there about the impact of local shopping. And also it's really important to think about the partners that we're working with, our suppliers, the local social enterprises like Highs for Humanity, Gathering Place, West Point Naturals. As much as possible, we look for the least impact on the environment. That could be organic. And that's something also that is really important to the people that we work with here, to know what they're sharing about the work that we're doing is that we're doing the best that we can with what is available. These are some of the places that you could try our chocolate. These are some of the places you can buy our chocolate. And it's all good. And I'm not sure if we have it, I can't see underneath there. Fairware are both gifting organizations that if, for your business, if you want to get something that is a collaboration between other social enterprises, they have some options. We do as well. Ways you can support social enterprises. So purchase from social enterprises for personal and business gifting. This is something I think that's really important to spread the word with friends and family. A lot of times people don't even know that we're a social enterprise. And, you know, we thought that was kind of the idea in the beginning, was because I'm just gonna this screen. I don't know why we're still on mute. But one of the things that was really important to us was when folks would come in, that they wouldn't just think, oh yeah, this is a social enterprise, this is really bad quality, or whatever, because there was that stigma around social enterprise and food production, or social enterprise and products. So we really wanted to challenge that. And I think that we've done a pretty good job with that. And we're really excited to move forward with the support of Brad and Ian. And we're looking for a brighter future where more people in the community are interested in purchasing products that have a greater impact, and they're using their money to, instead of just giving donations, which is great too, and philanthropy is awesome, but also making conscious decisions on the items that you're purchasing for your everyday use and for your gifting. So I could continue chatting, or we could see if there's any questions. So I think we still have about 15 or 20 minutes.
Yes, so we're just waiting for questions to come in now. I have a question. So I love how you thought about the whole end-to-end process, from packaging, from partners, vendors, and mission. Then how do you go about finding partners who align with your values? And what are some tips or challenges that you would say while you're navigating that?
So for us here, what we do is we will do a bunch of research. We'll search locally first. I mean, depending on what the item is, of course, we always want to try to buy locally if we can, but it'll be researching the product and then making some phone calls, calling people, because getting referrals is really great. Some companies that are B corporations have done a lot of deep dive into their suppliers. So if you know somebody who has a B Corp, you can call them up and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you have, 5 minutes to chat with me? I think that's a really great way. And then also it's a good project for one of your staff, like people that are passionate about it. We've had people work here before that, called every straw supplier because they wanted the best paper straw, so it becomes a fun challenge for people.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I love how your staff is also really involved in the process. Another question that I got from the audience is, what are the most common obstacles that anyone interested to build a social enterprise could find in the way?
Money. Well, for us, I think if you have the passion to do it, you're going to draw in other people that will get excited about what you want to do. For us, of course, it was a humanitarian, our mission was really focused around, we wanted people to have opportunities. We wanted to create more joy in the downtown Eastside, more hope. And so we had a lot of people really interested, and in the beginning we were eligible for a lot of grants, but usually that dries up, and there's always new social enterprises, and there's those people that give grants often are looking for new things as well. But I think having the drive to really reach out to people. I don't know, Tori, what do you think?
I think Brad unmuted himself. He probably had some good
Yeah,
advice.
so since I've started being involved in social enterprises and quite involved in other social enterprises for some involvement, I've been involved. The one thing that you understand with the social enterprise, first of all, most of them are entrepreneurs. They start a social enterprise because they do it for passion, they do it for give back, but truly they are deep down entrepreneurs. And unfortunately, when you got an entrepreneur and with passion, you spend a lot of time. You're an artist. You basically do a lot of the day-to-day grind work, that kind of stuff. Every social enterprise that I've seen that lacks is true sales and marketing and how to get out to market. And that's one thing that I hope to bring to the table for the EVR is that it's usually the passion is so strong. And then by the time they got to pay the bills and they got to do all the other things and make the products and do all those things, they work 14 hours a day. And so they lack sales and marketing. And so I think the whole thing for us is like, even today, whatever participants here today have now heard of EVR. So yeah, I think it's, I say this very sincerely that we have social enterprises are probably for the next generation are the next enterprises that people will look at and say, I want to support them. But unfortunately, when we go to big organizations and big associations, it's very difficult to explain to them what a social enterprise is. And so I think, yeah, everyday knowledge, communication, and truly the marketing and sales is the biggest issue.
Yeah, and I'd add into that I think, I've had that blended return on investment model, but also, by Social Canada, we're a social enterprise. We're incorporated as a CCC, and it almost becomes about flexing a muscle and like training yourself to balance, business and sales, like Brad is saying, with the impact, because you want to achieve both. And sometimes your decisions are kind of veer one way, veer the other. So kind of trying to, bring it together and stay on that blended return path is a skill that, you can develop over time, but it can be one that you have to learn and practice and walk.
And the reason why we went, we have is actually a not-for-profit and a social enterprise. EVR is now a CCC. And the reason we went to that is that the not-for-profit works well for foundation money and grant money, but it doesn't work well to empower your people. And so the CCC gives us the ability for us to have shares in the business. It gives the ability for the employees to have shares. It gives you a lot more ability to empower the people that are driving it. And so I think it's important that people understand that not-for-profits is great for raising money and going to the government trough and asking for money. But at the end of the day, it's truly not an entrepreneur spirit.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts and experience. It looks like we have time for one more question. So some of our audience have gotten the East Van Roaster coffee in their experience package. One person said that they've been having it every morning now, which is great. Can you share a bit more about the flavor and the profile?
I'm pretty sure they got the Peruvian coffee.
Correct.
Yeah. So I like to think of the Peruvian origin as like the classic go-to cup of coffee. It's one that most people will enjoy. It's got some brightness and fruitiness, but it can also stand up to cream and sugar, which, it's when you do specialty coffee roasting, you have this wide array of different coffee flavors that your customers will like. Some like really fruity and bright, but that coffee probably won't stand up to cream and sugar. And then other people like really dark and they want to see the oils in it when they open the bag and they're like, why isn't this coffee so dark? So we try to have a few coffees that will be right in the middle there that'll please everybody. And that's our Peruvian coffee. And we have a good relationship with the farmers there, and we're happy to use that coffee as much as possible. And I think the tasting notes are I don't actually have a bag in front of me because I'm not actually the coffee roaster, but for myself personally, I would say it's It's smooth. It's a little bit fruity. There's a bit of brightness, but it's maybe got a little bit of apple in there. I guess you'll have to make yourself a few cups of coffee over time, because the coffee also changes a little bit as it ages. So every day that you make a coffee, you could take little different notes about the flavors that you're getting out of it, and then you can start to become your own, develop your own palate.
Yeah, I got mine in the experience package. I've tried it this morning and it was great. Then other than that, is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up the session for today that you would like to share with our attendees?
Eastside Roasters is still open, right? Like you can come get a coffee to go and a hot chocolate to go.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're open Tuesday through Saturday from 12 to 5 to come into the space. There's no seating right now, but you can have a drinking chocolate or a bar drink like a latte or a cappuccino, and you can pick up beans, coffee beans, and we have all of our products, our chocolate covered canned goods, all our chocolate bars, cookies, brownies, those kinds of things available. And you can order online too. If you can't make those hours 12 to 5, we're doing shipping through Canada Post. And also we can just get your stuff all ready for you and you just pop in and grab your bag. So we're always happy to see your smiling faces when you come in. And yeah, we're here for you.
That's awesome. Then I definitely have to go try the chocolate. I heard from Tori that it's excellent. Then, for example, we were pre-ordering a gift for a friend. How early should we try to order that to ensure that we get it on time, that there's it's in stock?
Right. So if you're picking it up or if your friend is picking it up, usually one day before, as if they're going to pick it up the next day, that's fine. If it's on our website and it says on our web store at eastvanroasters.com, then there's an online shipping option or online button to purchase. If it says it's available, it's here in our store, and that means you could buy it and walk in at 12 o'clock when we open. So that's pretty easy. If it's a larger order, say you're going to get 100 8-piece chocolate boxes for your office for Christmas, we'd like to have a couple weeks notice, and you could just email us at info@eastvanroasters. There's a link on our website, and we're happy to do that too. We can do larger volume for businesses or gifting in that way.
I have a question. How do you come up with some of your truffle ideas? Like, some of them are so unique. How do you experiment and decide those things, the recipes?
We have a really great chocolatier. Well, we have a couple really great chocolatiers, and each of the origins of chocolate have different nuances in them. So one might be very citrusy with red berry fruit flavors in it. And then when we're looking at seasonal local ingredients, we try to pair them with the chocolate. So it's really about getting inspired about what's happening in the food movement, and also with what would pair really well with this. And then we just do some trials and tastings. And if you come in the shop, sometimes we offer you things that nobody else gets to try because we're testing things out. So that's also another bonus.